training wise, how's that been going? I know in the past, maybe not too long ago, you were, you had a little, a rib issue. Is that subsided? Maybe we can talk about, yeah, just how training is going and some of those things, and just where you're at now.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Training for me is going really well. As we all know, when you're pretty late in your lifting career, and plus I'm going to be 51 in October, progression is far and few between. I can sometimes go, shoot, I'm lucky if I can see noticeable progression semi-annually, literally. And so I've really had to create programming that I really enjoy, that I really, really like dig doing. I'm eager to get in the gym, and sometimes even giddy, once I get in there. So that's been key. That's been key because so often, and I've been there. We are, it's all about progress, and progress generates enthusiasm and momentum and hot streaks, and things like that. So the way my training looks right now, I kind of consider it somewhat creative. I'm big on deloads and managing fatigue and making sure that we can, perform at our best as often as possible. And so the training that I have created for myself is essentially got deloads built into it, even though they're not really deloads per se. And so how I manage that is I kind of have a block that lasts 3 weeks where I start with, basically 2 sets, and then I just add sets every week. 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets, rinse and repeat. 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets, rinse and repeat. And the way that I do that is on my big lifts, I've got a heavy single that I do. Now that's going to be, I don't want to confuse that with a 1 rep max. That's not what it is. It's anywhere between 75 and maybe 90% of my 1 rep max that I do for a heavy single. Then I rate that. How did it feel? Was it an RPE 9? Was it an RPE 8.5? And then based on that load and that RPE, I get my volume work. My little sheet calculates the load that I should be using. And I do, in week 1, 1 back down set. Then in week 2, I do that same thing, but I do 2 back down sets. And then in week 3, I do 3 back down sets. And then I just rinse and repeat. I just keep rinsing and repeating this thing just over and over again. And then to help balance the volume, the increase in volume, because I think you and Jeff were talking about adding sets on one of your podcasts, because you're absolutely right. If you do that with everything, you're going to go with this extremely just steep incline of volume, right? So a lot of my bodybuilding work, I just kind of keep it the same. It's kind of like 3 sets, 3 sets, 3 sets. And then I have a little bit, just a tiny bit of what I call speed work or power work, where it's kind of West Side-ish in a way, where it's heavy, but it's 70%, 75% of like what my working weight would normally be. Not my 1 rep max, but my working weight would be. And it's very submaximal. So, but it's usually 5 sets that I start with in week 1, and then I reduce it to 4, and then I reduce it to 3. So while most of my lifts are going adding sets, a lot of them are staying the same. That one little bit, I actually reduce those sets so that I get, a trend line that kind of looks a little bit less steep as I'm increasing the volume through the block. And then basically I just rinse and repeat it. And I really enjoy it. Is progress very prevalent? No, especially on those bodybuilding movements, lateral raises, that Jeff says that he hasn't gone up in that in like 4 years, right?
You're right.
They're just, I just get it in because, like the muscle and strength training pyramids say, it's really about effort and sets. And that's the way my training looks right now. And to be honest with you, Kenny, I'm boring. I have run that now for 40 weeks straight.
Okay.
And you know what? Actually, I misspeak here a little bit because sometimes my weeks are not weeks. So I should say 40 microcycles straight, because sometimes a microcycle, especially that hard week, that last week, I call it my killer week, where I'm doing the 3 sets or the singles in the 3 sets. That one sometimes takes me about 9 or 10 days to get everything in, so it's taken, basically 40 microcycles, not necessarily 40 weeks.